welcome to the A. Marie Speaks podcast, where I'm talking about all things introspection, spirituality, and happiness. In this episode, I am going to be talking about infinite intelligence. What does that mean, you might ask? Well, if you could imagine universal consciousness, or the ether, or the imagination of the Creator itself, that is what I am trying to express when I'm using the words infinite intelligence. It is something much deeper than the thinking mind, and I have come to really enjoy the examination of this topic, because as soon as you walk through the door, it just leads into infinite avenues. And when you start to recognize and realize that the universe is alive with intelligence, and information is literally what we're made up of, information vibrating at specific levels, and in densities and dimensions and all of this. And so it's really beautiful and intriguing to pull back the layers and see it, infinite intelligence at work at these different layers. And so I'm going to share an audio of a blog I recently wrote on this very topic, and it's basically just a tip of the iceberg type of view, and I really will definitely be diving deeper into the subject, especially since as present moment I have already gotten much more insights and enlightenments on this topic, and really being able to integrate the physical body's intelligence into this infinite intelligence. And I cannot wait to keep sharing and explaining more of these concepts, and hopefully getting some replies and comments back from others to see what their perspective on these topics is, and what their experiences with their version of infinite intelligence is. And so with that, I'm going to get started on the blog, which was an introductory look at the infinite intelligence and our body's intelligence. At first glance, these words seem obscure. What does it even mean? Infinite intelligence, right? Throughout history, people have called this concept many different things: source consciousness, God, ki or chi, prana, the ether, gravity, the logos, universal intelligence, ideas like the God particle. Even chemicals like tryptophan and DMT can also refer to this natural intelligence. All these terms point to the same notion. There is some underlying thing, still indeterminable by conventional scientific observations, yes, but it is there, and it's something which connects and holds and shapes all quote-unquote matter in the universe. This underlying connection is what we call infinite intelligence. There's an important side note to mention before we dive in, and that is the friction that some might feel caused by unreal expectations tied to seeking evidence. Evidence is a very slippery slope to really gauge and try to attempt to dig stakes into the ground. There's only so far that your five senses and the third dimension can take you in this multi-dimensional world. And the refusal to look at or even consider anything which doesn't fit into the 3D cube in itself is a desecration of science at its very core. This is a major flaw in the structural setting of modern science and in the entire scientific world. I don't want to get too off track on that, but it's important to remember the spectrums of light, of vision, the realms and densities and dimensions that we do live within are much greater than you see with your physical eyes. It's just very important to remember that, because when you know that as a truth, it's easy to identify that this obvious inversion of the truth that's taking place in the scientific structure that's going on right now. A few useful study points for people who are just understanding maybe what 3-4D means, what dimensions are, and all this kind of talk. It's actually super scientific. It's very easy to understand. It's beautiful in its simplicity, honestly. Please, if you're interested, it's so cool. Check out Sacred Geometry. Look at Metatron's Cube, or go research the ether, vortex frequency, Nikola Tesla. These things are beautiful and amazing, and they will really help you open up your view of your world. So I'm giving this forewarning in relative to the pressing need for you to keep an open mind and to be curious about this life. Suppress, deny, or restrict a thing, and you merely put off dealing with it. When modern science barricades itself within four walls of a laboratory, it excludes literally everything outside of it. Think about that, honestly. They've had to explain away and talk around so much of the truth because they refuse to acknowledge anything which cannot be experienced inside their 3D cube laboratory version of the real world. It's very weird. Again, it's blatant in its inversion of logic, right? But people just, cognitive dissonance, turn a blind eye. Oh, well, everybody says so, so it must be right. But yet it rubs us all the wrong way when you look at it with clarity, which brings us back to infinite intelligence. It's everywhere, in all aspects, from the tiniest fragment to the entirety of universes. It operates without restriction and doesn't take instructions from human beings. To outright deny the existence of that which is greater than humanity is to blindfold yourself against actual reality. Unfortunately, modern science does just this, right? You cannot fully examine a field from within the field. This is Science 101. You cannot cage the universe. You cannot accurately simulate the organic matrices, the star systems, the living cell. You cannot recreate source life or life energy because it all comes from one place, was birthed at the same time, and is already in full existence around us at all times. As I noted earlier, right? That beware of inverted truths because they're everywhere, okay? But also recognize the undeniable truths that are out there. This is discernment. This, decision making, is sovereignty in action. Gnosis, or unexplained certainty, comes from your connection to infinite intelligence. Only you can feel it, but that does not make it any less real. I don't pretend to see the whole picture, but I do accept the undeniable truth so many have discovered before me. As above, so below. This means outer space is relative to inner space. If we understand that truth, then it becomes clear that infinite's intelligence' main purpose is to express and play out all possibilities while seeking its own version of homeostasis, or stable growth. Once we start to see and accept the oneness of all things, we are able to see the Creator within ourselves with more clarity. The miracles of the body vessel, the symbiotic relationships we hold with plants, the electric balancing that takes place between us and the earth, all of these things are wonder-filled symptoms of life. They are all infinite intelligence's design. Tap into this frequency, tune into the channel. Follow the scent of truth and you will feel the tingle, the reverberating love of Source. It's within us all, just waiting to flow, just waiting for you to feel it and enjoy it. It's literally the point. Infinite intelligence translates to body intelligence. And this is what I was talking about at the very beginning, about using infinite intelligence as a filter to apply to all different layers of the universe and of life. Your body holds its own intelligence, which is totally separate from the thinking or frontal cortex. You don't have to think about your heartbeat or tell a gland to secrete a hormone. The organs don't consult you before performing their functions. This is body intelligence. Sure, science may dismiss body intelligence as a whole, but that's because purpose does not fit under their blindfolds. Today's science seeks to dissect and pinpoint anatomy and physiology. This concerns only the physical things, like where each function takes place or which systems are impacted and how. This knowledge can be helpful transitional information, but it lacks substance and depth. Material descriptions cannot explain why something is taking place or what true purpose is, because conclusions like those require an outside perspective. Purpose is relative, just like time. These are constructs put in place over time, over some type of background or setting. This is the only way that these structures function, as it is a tool of comparison or measurement. Purpose and time are tools of comparison and measurement. Yet, many have forgotten this common sense knowledge. They've been misdirected by inverted systems and blindfolded, just like mainstream science. The true purpose of creation is known only by its creator. As above, so below. As we are each a spark of that infinite source, we are each in turn a creator of things. This is another undeniable truth which has been distorted and used as a trap. We create the world we experience. This is very obvious and provable, but it seems most of us overlook the purpose and implications of this power. We immediately look outwards and assume creations must be formed out there. Why is that? Right? Why is it that we seem to have these sectioned entities, the body, the mind, and the spirit? It fits the template that we've already established with structure to then assume that the purpose of these three bodies would be balancing and integration, right? If the universe's general purpose, if the logos is always seeking balancing and integration, then we apply that filter from above down through the layers, then hence we have the same purpose for our body's layer. The body intelligence is that stage between the mind and the spirit, logic and intuition. It's subtle and is very much intertwined with the subconscious mind and the autonomic nervous system. The mind certainly doesn't propagate instructions down into a white blood cell or a hair follicle. Those things have a role and a purpose all of their own, almost. This is the beauty of body intelligence. One thing I absolutely love about examining life and intelligence from all these different angles is the doorways that it creates. Once I committed to connecting with my own personal body intelligence, I opened a door. Through repetition, I crossed this threshold. The crossing is like a tunnel or a river. You must navigate through to the other end. And once that other end is reached, you are able to speak right down into your cells, have a conversation with an organ, or listen to an entire organ system. If you practice this communion and work to silence your thinking mind, you will soon find that your body intelligence will report quickly back to you issues and problems. You can even empower and instruct your cell systems if you so choose. You are the boss after all. You are the creator to them, completely outside of their world and consciousness level, yet you make up their entire world. There is no piece of that cell that is not you, and yet you are something so much bigger and more complex and almost separate even from that cell. It is a paradox laid out in front of us in plain language, undeniable truth. How absurd would it be for a cell to try to denounce the body in which it lives, right? Like, really take time and think about that for yourself. It's ridiculous. A cell's consciousness is unfathomable to us as people. I get it, but if you use your imagination, you can see it's a metaphor, and it's highly useful when you could turn around and then look at humanity with that tool and that imagination technique. If you look at humanity and what we consider to be our universe, and then God or the infinite creator, this is possible because infinite intelligence is running through everything, linking everything. So, in closing, whenever you feel alone or segregated, just remember that you have an entire universe teeming with intelligent life right inside you, just waiting to be unlocked. So that was my blog. I hope you enjoyed it. If you stayed to listen to the whole thing, thank you very much. As I said at the beginning, I am going to continue to explore this idea of infinite intelligence and really look at some ways to communicate with the body and with our own infinite intelligence. So if you have any ways that you communicate with your own, or if this is interesting to you, leave a reply below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you again for listening, and have a great day.